Goldie Hawn has always been known as one of Hollywood's brightest smiles. From the moment she appeared on screens, people felt drawn to her warm energy, playful laugh, and natural charm. She was not just an actress. She felt like someone audiences could trust and love. Over the years, she made millions laugh, cry, and feel hopeful through her performances. But behind that famous smile was a woman searching for something deeper than fame, awards, or applause. Goldie's journey was never just about movies. It was about love, heartbreak, growth, and finding a partner who truly understood her soul. Now at 79, Goldie has looked back on her life and spoken honestly about the man who made her feel seen, safe, and complete in a way no one else ever did. Before finding lasting love, Goldie went through experiences that shaped her deeply. She was married twice before meeting the man who would change her life forever. Those relationships taught her painful lessons about trust, commitment, and independence. Even though she appeared happy to the world, she often felt confused and emotionally tired behind closed doors. Like many people, she wanted love, but not at the cost of losing herself. Goldie learned early on that marriage alone does not guarantee happiness. Real love, she discovered, requires understanding, patience, and emotional safety. Goldie was born on November 21st, 1945, in Washington, D.C., and grew up in a loving Jewish family in Maryland. Her parents encouraged creativity, and from a very young age, Goldie showed a natural talent for performing. At just 3 years old, she began taking dance lessons, and it quickly became clear that she was special. Dance gave her confidence, discipline, and a way to express feelings she could not yet put into words. By the time she was 10, she was performing professionally, even appearing in major ballet productions like The Nutcracker. She did not just dance. She owned the stage with confidence far beyond her years. As she grew older, Goldie's passion for performing only became stronger. She studied drama and dance, briefly attending college, but her heart was already set on entertainment. She left school to chase her dreams, a risky move that many would question. But Goldie believed in herself. She worked in dance shows, go-go clubs, and theater, slowly building experience and confidence. These early years were not glamorous. They were full of long hours, uncertainty, and rejection. Still, Goldie never lost her joy. She believed that hard work and passion would eventually lead her where she needed to go. Her big break came in the late 1960s when she joined the television comedy show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. Her bubbly personality, quick humor, and infectious laugh made her an instant favorite. Audiences loved her, and Hollywood took notice. Soon, film roles followed, and Goldie transitioned from television to movies with ease. In 1969, she won an Academy Award for Cactus Flower, proving she was more than just a comedic actress. She was talented, serious, and capable of deep emotional performances. As her career skyrocketed, Goldie became one of the most successful actresses of her time. Movies like Private Benjamin, Foul Play, Overboard, and The First Wives Club made her a household name. She had fame, money, and admiration from around the world. Yet, despite all her success, something was missing. Fame did not protect her from heartbreak. In fact, it often made personal relationships more difficult. Goldie found herself struggling to balance love and independence, something many women could relate to but few talked about openly at the time. Behind the camera, Goldie experienced emotional ups and downs that shaped her views on relationships. Her first 2 marriages ended painfully, leaving emotional scars that stayed with her for years. She learned that love should not feel like a cage or a performance. It should feel like peace. These lessons prepared her for a different kind of love, one built not on expectations, but on choice. A love that did not demand marriage control or sacrifice of identity. This understanding would later define the most important relationship of her life. Before Goldie Hawn found lasting love, she experienced relationships that left her heart wounded and her spirit tested. Her first marriage was to Gus Triconis, a dancer and actor she met while performing in the late 1960s. At the time, Goldie was young, hopeful, and deeply romantic. She once admitted that she wanted to marry Gus almost immediately after meeting him. They shared a love for dance and performance, and for a while, it felt like a perfect match. The couple married in 1969, just as Goldie's career began to explode. What started as a dream quickly became complicated as fame entered the picture. As Goldie's success grew, Gus struggled to find steady work. The balance between them slowly shifted, creating distance and emotional strain. Goldie was traveling, filming, and becoming a star, while Gus felt left behind. Fame can be exciting, but it can also change the dynamics of a relationship. Over time, misunderstandings and resentment grew between them. By 1973, they separated, and although the divorce was not finalized until 1976, the emotional connection had already faded. The end of her first marriage taught Goldie a hard lesson. Love alone is not always enough when two people are moving in different directions. Not long after her first marriage ended, Goldie married musician and actor Bill Hudson in 1976. Their relationship moved quickly, fueled by strong attraction and excitement. Together, they had 2 children, Oliver and Kate, who would later become successful actors themselves. On the surface, everything seemed perfect. Goldie had a loving family, a successful career, and public admiration. But behind the scenes, cracks were forming. Bill later shared that he felt unsure even on their wedding day, while Goldie seemed uncertain about traditional marriage roles. Their marriage struggled under the pressure of expectations, fame, and emotional differences. Bill wanted a more traditional family structure, while Goldie valued independence and freedom. These differences slowly pulled them apart. In 1980, Bill filed for divorce, and the separation became one of the most painful chapters in Goldie's life. The divorce did not just end a marriage. It created long-lasting emotional wounds, especially involving their children. Public statements from both sides later revealed deep hurt, misunderstandings, and unresolved pain. Goldie rarely spoke publicly about the details of her divorces, choosing instead to protect her children and move forward quietly. What became clear over time was that she did not regret choosing independence over staying in unhappy marriages. She believed that children are better raised in honest environments rather than homes filled with tension and unhappiness. These experiences shaped her belief that love should feel safe, supportive, and free, not forced by social rules or expectations. Despite the heartbreak, Goldie did not give up on love. Instead, she focused on healing, raising her children, and building a meaningful life beyond romantic relationships. She poured her energy into motherhood, personal growth, and later, her mental health foundation. She learned how to be happy on her own, which prepared her for a healthier relationship in the future. Goldie's story during this period is not one of failure, but of growth. She learned to listen to her instincts and trust herself, even when the world judged her choices. Years later, fate brought someone back into her life who would change everything. Kurt Russell was not a stranger. They had met briefly years earlier, but timing had not been right. When they reconnected in the early 1980s, both were older, wiser, and more emotionally aware. This time, their connection was different. It was not rushed or driven by fantasy. It was calm, honest, and real. For Goldie, Kurt represented something she had never truly experienced before, a partner who accepted her fully without trying to change her. Their relationship did not follow Hollywood rules. They chose not to marry, not because they did not believe in commitment, but because they believed in choice. Every day, they chose each other freely. Goldie later explained that staying together because you want to, not because you have to, creates a stronger bond. With Kurt, she found laughter, trust, family, and emotional safety. He was not just her partner, but her best friend. This relationship became the longest and most meaningful of Goldie's life. It proved that love does not need a perfect beginning to have a beautiful ending. Sometimes, the right love arrives only after you learn who you truly are. When Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell reconnected in the early 1980s, neither of them expected it to turn into one of Hollywood's longest and most respected love stories. Their first real spark happened in 1983, while preparing for the film's swing shift. Kurt arrived at the audition nervous and slightly hungover, and when Goldie walked in, he made a bold and awkward comment about her figure. Instead of being offended, Goldie laughed and thanked him. That simple exchange broke the tension instantly. It was not planned, polished, or romantic in the traditional sense, but it felt real. That honesty became the foundation of their connection. Their first date was anything but normal. They went dancing at the Playboy Club, and later headed to a house Goldie had just bought. She did not even have the keys yet, So they broke in together, laughing like teenagers, while exploring the empty house. The police showed up, ending the night in an unexpected way. Instead of embarrassment, the moment became a funny memory they would later cherish. For Goldie, that night felt different from any other date she had experienced. There was no pressure, no pretending, just laughter and ease. Kurt later said it was one of the most fun first dates he had ever had as filming for Swing Ship began. They spent more time together, and their bond deepened naturally. Goldie noticed something important about Kurt early on. He was honest, calm, and emotionally present. He was not trying to impress her or play games. After years of emotional confusion in past relationships, this felt refreshing and safe. Goldie later shared that she could tell Kurt was not a womanizer, and that made her trust him more. Trust, for her, had become more valuable than excitement or passion alone. What truly touched Goldie's heart was how Kurt treated her children, Oliver and Kate. She often brought them to the movie set, and every time she saw Kurt interacting with them, she felt a growing sense of peace. He was kind, patient, and natural with them. He did not try to replace their father or force a role. He simply showed up with love and consistency. Goldie later said that watching Kurt with her children made her realize this relationship was more than romance. It was about building a family. In 1986, Goldie and Kurt welcomed their son Wyatt, creating a blended family that included Goldie's 2 children and Kurt's son Boston from a previous relationship. Even then, they chose not to marry. For many people, especially in Hollywood, this decision was confusing. But for Goldie and Kurt, it felt right. They believed marriage should never be a requirement for love. Goldie explained that marriage can sometimes make people feel trapped, while choice creates freedom. Every day, they woke up choosing each other, and that choice strengthened their bond. Their relationship stood out because it was not perfect, but was honest. They argued, disagreed, and faced challenges like any couple, but they always returned to respect and laughter. Goldie once said that long-term love requires patience and the ability to forgive small things. Kurt agreed, often describing Goldie as his best friend. They supported each other's careers, personal growth, and family responsibilities without competition or jealousy. Over the years, they worked together on screen in films like Overboard and later The Christmas Chronicles. Their chemistry felt natural because it was real. Audiences could sense that what they shared on screen reflected their real-life connection. They never overused their partnership professionally, choosing projects carefully to protect their personal relationship. This balance helped them avoid burnout and resentment, something many Hollywood couples struggle with. Goldie often said that Kurt was the one who truly understood her, not because he tried to control her, but because he accepted her completely. With him, she did not have to perform or pretend. She could simply be herself. That feeling of emotional safety became the reason their love lasted for decades. In a world where relationships often fade quickly, Goldie and Kurt showed that love built on respect, laughter, and choice can stand the test of time. As the years passed, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell's relationship grew stronger, not weaker. They evolved from young lovers into lifelong partners, parents, and eventually grandparents. Their bond deepened as they faced life's changes together, including career shifts, aging, and family responsibilities. Instead of drifting apart, they leaned into each other with gratitude and humor. Goldie often said that laughter was one of the most important ingredients in their relationship. No matter how stressful life became, they always found a way to laugh together. Public appearances showed the world what private love looked like for them. Whether walking red carpets or attending award shows, they appeared relaxed and connected. One of the most memorable moments came in 1989 when they presented together at the Academy Awards. On stage, they joked openly about not being married, making the audience laugh and admire their honesty. That moment reflected who they truly were, playful, confident, and comfortable with their choices. They did not feel the need to explain their relationship to anyone as their children grew older. Goldie and Kurt focused on creating a warm and supportive family environment. They attended premieres together, celebrated milestones, and made family time a priority. When Goldie starred in the First Wives Club in 1996, Kurt stood proudly by her side at the premiere, surrounded by their children. These moments showed that their love extended beyond romance into real partnership. They were teammates, supporting each other through every stage of life. Becoming grandparents brought them even closer. Goldie once shared that she had always looked forward to being a grandmother, believing it would bring joy and laughter. When Kate Hudson welcomed her first child in 2004, Goldie and Kurt embraced their new role with excitement. Over the years, their family grew to include several grandchildren, and they often shared sweet moments of family life with the public. These moments showed a softer side of Hollywood life. Grounded in love and togetherness, in 2017, Goldie and Kurt received stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a moment that felt deeply symbolic. Standing side by side, they celebrated not just their careers, but their journey together. Kurt's speech moved many people when he told Goldie that he owed his wonderful life to her and that he cherished her deeply. Goldie later said she had no idea he would speak so beautifully, and that the moment felt like a true celebration of their love. It was not about awards or fame, but about gratitude and partnership. As they entered their later years, Goldie became more open about the reasons behind their lasting relationship. She explained that love requires compassion, patience, and the ability to forgive. She also emphasized that staying together for decades does not mean avoiding conflict. It means learning how to handle it with respect. For her, choosing each other every day was more powerful than any legal document. In recent years, they faced challenges that tested their sense of security, including break-ins at their home. These frightening experiences led them to make changes for their safety, including moving to a quieter place. Through it all, they stayed close, supporting each other emotionally. Goldie openly shared how shaken she felt and how grateful she was to have Kurt by her side. Their response to fear was unity, not distance. Today, Goldie Hawn's story is not just about fame or romance. It is about learning from pain, choosing love wisely, and building a life based on honesty and freedom. At 79, when Goldie reflects on her life, it becomes clear why Kurt Russell stands out as the one who truly satisfied her emotionally. He gave her peace, laughter, family, and the freedom to be herself. Their story proves that real love is not about perfection, marriage, or public approval. It is about choosing the right person and choosing them again every single day. As Goldie Hawn grew older, her perspective on life, love, and success became even clearer. She often spoke about how fame never truly filled the emotional space she once thought it would. Awards, applause, and money were exciting, but they were temporary. What lasted, what truly mattered, were the quiet moments shared at home, the laughter around the dinner table, and the feeling of safety that came from being deeply understood. With Kurt Russell, Goldie found that sense of emotional grounding she had searched for most of her adult life. He was not impressed by fame, and he did not compete with her success. Instead, he stood beside her as an equal. Goldie became more open about the emotional meaning of their relationship in interviews over the years. She explained that Kurt did not try to fix her or change her. He listened. He accepted her past, her fears, and her need for independence. For Goldie, this was the most important form of satisfaction. It was not about physical attraction alone, although she always admitted she found him handsome. It was about emotional connection, trust, and comfort. She once described the simple joy of lying in bed at night, touching feet, and feeling connected. To her, those quiet details meant more than grand romantic gestures. Their choice not to marry continued to surprise people, especially as decades passed. Fans often ask why they never made it official after so many years together. Goldie answered honestly. She said that divorce can be painful, especially for children, and she had seen firsthand how legal endings can leave emotional damage behind. She liked the idea of choosing to stay rather than feeling trapped by obligation. Kurt supported this belief completely. He often said that people cared more about their marital status than they did, and even their children never felt it was necessary. As time went on, Goldie focused more energy on giving back. She created the Hawn Foundation, dedicated to improving children's mental health through education and mindfulness. Her own struggles with anxiety earlier in life inspired her to help others. Kurt fully supported this mission, often praising her dedication and compassion. Their relationship allowed Goldie the freedom to grow beyond acting and explore purpose in new ways. This phase of her life showed that lasting love does not limit growth. It encourages it. Goldie and Kurt also continued to enjoy working together when the timing felt right. Their return as Mr. and Mrs. Claus in the Christmas Chronicles films delighted fans who had loved their chemistry in Overboard. Watching them on screen again felt comforting, almost nostalgic. It reminded audiences that some connections do not fade with time. Their performances reflected decades of shared history, trust, and affection. Even their children joined in, making the experience feel like a family celebration rather than just another movie to end their personal lives. They embraced simple joys. Travel, family gatherings, and time with grandchildren became central to their happiness. Goldie often shared moments on social media, showing them laughing, walking hand in hand, or enjoying quiet vacations. These images resonated with people because they felt genuine. There was no need for perfection or glamour. Their love looked warm, lived in, and real. When scary moments arrived, such as break-ins at their home, their bond only grew stronger. Goldie openly admitted how frightened she felt, especially after realizing someone tried to enter the house while she was alone. Kurt stood by her side, helping make changes to ensure safety and peace of mind. They decided to move to a quieter location, showing that even later in life, they were willing to adapt together. Their response to fear was unity and care, not panic or blame. Looking back, Goldie's life story feels like a journey toward emotional clarity. She experienced early success, painful lessons, and public scrutiny, but she never lost her sense of hope. Kurt Russell became the person who met her where she was, without expectations or pressure. For Goldie, that was true fulfillment. Not perfection, but peace. Not control, but freedom. That is why, even at 79, she speaks about him with gratitude and deep affection. Goldie Hawn's story stands as a powerful reminder that love does not have a single shape or timeline. Her life challenges the idea that happiness must follow traditional rules. She married young, divorced, raised children as a working mother, and chose a lifelong partnership without marriage. Each decision came with judgment, yet she stayed true to herself. Over time, her choices proved that emotional honesty matters more than public approval. With Kurt Russell, she built a relationship based on respect, laughter, and daily choice, rather than fear or obligation. As Goldie entered her late 70s, she became more reflective and open about what truly satisfied her in life. She spoke less about career milestones and more about emotional peace. She described satisfaction not as excitement, but as contentment, waking up next to someone you trust, feeling supported without being controlled, being loved without being owned. Kurt provided that balance. He allowed her to be independent while still deeply connected. That emotional freedom was something she had never fully experienced before. Their relationship also influenced how their children viewed love and family. Kate Hudson often spoke publicly about how Kurt was a father figure who showed up consistently and lovingly. Oliver Hudson echoed similar feelings. This blended family dynamic became one of the most successful examples of non-traditional parenting in Hollywood. Goldie and Kurt never forced labels or expectations. They focused on presence, care, and emotional safety. That approach created strong family bonds that lasted into adulthood. In interviews, Goldie often said that long-term love requires work, but not the kind that drains you. It requires kindness, patience, and humor. She admitted that there were moments when they drove each other crazy, but those moments were balanced by deep affection and understanding. They learned when to speak, when to listen, and when to laugh things off. This emotional intelligence became the foundation of their long-lasting connection. Their love story resonated with people because it felt attainable. It was not about luxury or perfection. It was about showing up every day. Fans saw them grow older together, not hiding wrinkles or pretending time did not pass. Instead, they embraced aging with grace and humor, holding hands, sharing smiles, and supporting each other publicly and privately. Their relationship aged naturally, just like real love does. A.S. Goldie reflected on her past. She never spoke with bitterness. Even when discussing painful chapters, she focused on lessons learned rather than blame. She believed every experience prepared her for the love she eventually found. Without heartbreak, she might not have recognized peace. Without loss, she might not have valued stability. Kurt Russell entered her life at the right time, when she was ready to accept love without fear at 79. When Goldie talked about satisfaction, it is clear she is not referring to something shallow or shocking. She is talking about emotional fulfillment, feeling safe, feeling chosen, feeling free to be herself. Kurt became the partner who offered all of that without asking her to give anything up in return. Their story proves that real satisfaction comes from understanding, companionship, and shared growth in the end, Goldie Hawn's life is not just a Hollywood success story. It is a human story. A story of mistakes, healing, laughter, and lasting love. Her journey shows that it is never too late to find the right connection, and that the best relationships are not defined by titles, rings, or rules. They're defined by peace, presence, and the choice to stay every single day. As Goldie Hawn continued moving through her later years, she became a symbol of emotional freedom and self-acceptance. Unlike many celebrities who hide behind perfection, Goldie spoke honestly about aging, fear, joy, and love. She did not pretend that life became easier with time. Instead, she admitted that growth often comes with challenges, even in long-lasting relationships. What made her journey special was how she faced those challenges with openness rather than denial. With Kurt Russell by her side, she never felt alone in facing life's changes. A major moment that revealed the strength of their bond came when Goldie shared a frightening experience of multiple break-ins at their home. These were not small incidents. Burglars broke into their house, cracked open a safe, and later attempted another break-in while Goldie was home alone. She openly spoke about how shaken she felt and how her sense of safety was deeply affected. For many people, especially later in life, feeling unsafe can be emotionally devastating. But once again, Kurt stepped in as a partner, not as a hero, but as support. Together, they made changes to protect their peace, including hiring security and eventually relocating to a quieter place. This situation showed something important about their relationship. They did not respond with panic or blame. They responded with teamwork. Goldie did not hide her fear, and Kurt did not dismiss it. He listened, supported, and adapted alongside her. This kind of emotional cooperation is rare and often overlooked, but it is one of the strongest signs of real partnership. For Goldie, this was another reminder of why Kurt was the one person who truly satisfied her emotionally. He did not just share joy with her, he shared responsibility. During this phase of life, Goldie also spoke more openly about gratitude. She often said that gratitude changes how people see everything, including love. Instead of focusing on what could go wrong, she focused on what was going right. She expressed gratitude for waking up next to someone she trusted, for having a family that stayed connected, and for still finding laughter in simple moments. Kurt mirrored this mindset. He often described Goldie as joyful, playful, and deeply loving, even after decades together. Their relationship also became an example for younger generations. In a world where relationships often feel rushed or pressured by social expectations, Goldie and Kurt showed a different way. They showed that love does not need to be locked in by rules. It needs to be nurtured by choice. Every interview, every public appearance, and every shared memory reinforced the idea that commitment comes from willingness, not obligation. That Goldie's honesty about satisfaction was never meant to shock or provoke. It was meant to clarify. Satisfaction, to her, meant feeling emotionally fulfilled. It meant knowing that the person beside her saw her fully and still chose her. It meant being allowed to grow, change, and age without fear of being left behind. Kurt gave her that sense of security without taking away her independence. That balance became the cornerstone of their long-lasting bond. As she approached her late 70s, Goldie did not speak of slowing down. She spoke of appreciating life more deeply. She valued moments over milestones and connection over attention. With Kurt, she had built a life that felt complete, not because it was perfect, but because it was honest. Their story reminded people that the strongest relationships are often the quietest ones, built far away from headlines and expectations. Goldie Hawn's life story, when viewed as a whole, feels like a lesson in emotional courage. She dared to leave relationships that did not feel right, even when the world judged her. She dared to raise children while balancing fame and personal healing. And most importantly, she dared to redefine love on her own terms. In doing so, she gave others permission to question outdated ideas about marriage, happiness, and fulfillment. Her relationship with Kurt Russell was not rebellious. It was thoughtful, intentional, and deeply human. One of the most powerful parts of Goldie and Kurt's story is how ordinary their love feels, despite their extraordinary fame. They enjoy simple things, walking together, laughing at old memories, spending time with family, and staying connected through shared values. They do not rely on constant excitement to stay close. Instead, they rely on trust and emotional presence. Goldie often emphasized that love is not about fireworks every day. It is about feeling calm and safe with someone who truly knows you. Their children and grandchildren became living proof of the environment they built, a family rooted in acceptance rather than pressure. Kate Hudson often spoke about how lucky she felt to grow up surrounded by love, humor, and support. She credited Goldie and Kurt for teaching her what healthy relationships look like. This influence extended beyond their immediate family, inspiring fans who saw themselves reflected in their journey. As Goldie reached 79, she reflected on satisfaction with clarity rather than regret. She did not wish she had married Kurt. She did not wish she had followed tradition. She felt peace knowing that every day spent together was chosen freely. That freedom made their bond stronger, not weaker. Kurt once said that the idea of marriage never mattered to them because their commitment was already deeper than paper. Their actions prove that commitment can exist without ceremony. Goldie also embraced aging with honesty. She spoke openly about changes in her body, energy, and perspective. Instead of fearing age, she welcomed it as a phase filled with wisdom. Kurt admired her openness and often praised her confidence. Together, they showed that love does not fade with age. It evolves. Their affection matured into something softer, steadier, and more meaningful. The idea that one person could satisfy another emotionally for decades may sound unrealistic in modern culture, but Goldie's story explains it clearly. Satisfaction does not mean one person meets every need. It means two people support each other's growth while staying emotionally connected. Kurt did not complete Goldie. He complemented her. They walked side by side rather than leaning on each other for survival. And the final reflection. Goldie's story stands as a reminder that love is deeply personal. There is no universal formula. Some people marry, some do not. Some find love early, others find it later. What matters is finding a connection that brings peace rather than chaos. For Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell became that connection, not because he was perfect, but because he was present, honest, and kind. Her life proves that true satisfaction comes from emotional truth, from choosing someone every day, from laughter that lasts beyond youth, and from building a life that feels right, even if it looks different from everyone else's expectations. Looking at Goldie Hawn's journey from young performer to Hollywood legend, one truth stands out clearly. Her greatest achievement was not fame, but emotional fulfillment. She reached the highest levels of success early in life, winning awards and earning admiration across the world. Yet none of those accomplishments protected her from heartbreak. What finally brought her peace was learning who she was and what she truly needed in a partner. That understanding changed everything. That Goldie's early relationships taught her what love should not feel like. She experienced imbalance, emotional distance, and the pressure to fit into roles that did not suit her. Those experiences were painful, but they were also necessary. They pushed her to grow, to question expectations, and protect her emotional well-being. By the time Kurt Russell entered her life again, she was ready to love without fear and without illusion. Kurt did not enter her life as a solution. He entered as a companion. That difference mattered. He did not promise perfection or permanence. He simply showed up consistently. Over time, that consistency built trust, and trust built love. Their relationship was not defined by dramatic moments, but by everyday presence. Goldie found satisfaction in knowing she could rely on him, not just emotionally, but practically. Their story also challenged Hollywood stereotypes. In an industry known for short-lived romances and public breakups, Goldie and Kurt quietly built a life together without spectacle. They did not rely on constant attention or validation. They let their relationship grow privately, protecting it from outside pressure. This approach allowed their bond to mature naturally as years passed. They continued to choose each other, even when it would have been easier to drift apart. That choice became their strongest commitment. Goldie often said that love is a decision made every morning. This mindset removed fear and replaced it with intention. She did not stay because she had to. She stayed because she wanted to. Their later years were filled with reflection rather than regret. Goldie looked back with gratitude rather than longing. She did not wish for a different path. She honored every experience as part of her journey. Kurt remained by her side, not as a symbol of success, but as a symbol of companionship. Goldie's openness about satisfaction gave voice to many people who felt pressure to define happiness according to society's rules. She reminded them that fulfillment is personal. It comes from alignment, not approval. Her story encouraged others to seek emotional safety rather than status. As she reached the later chapters of her life, Goldie Hawn became more than a movie star. She became an example of emotional wisdom. Her story showed that love can last when it is built on respect, freedom, and honesty. Kurt Russell was not just her partner. He was the person who made life feel balanced at 1879. Goldie Hawn's story feels complete, not because it has ended, but because it has come full circle. She began her life chasing joy through performance and discovered that real joy comes from connection. She searched for love through marriage and learned that commitment lives deeper than contracts. She experienced heartbreak and discovered healing. And through it all, she remained honest with herself. Kurt Russell became the person who walked beside her through the longest chapter of her life. Not as a rescuer, not as a replacement, but as a partner. Their love did not erase the past. It honored it. It allowed Goldie to grow without fear and to age without regret. That is why, when she speaks about satisfaction, her words carry weight. They come from experience, not fantasy. Their relationship stands as proof that love does not need to look perfect to be powerful. It needs trust. It needs laughter. It needs choice. Goldie and Kurt chose each other through youth, middle age, and later life. They built something strong without following rules that never felt right to them. Goldie's journey reminds us that fulfillment cannot be forced. It must be discovered. Sometimes it takes years of mistakes to understand what truly matters. For her, what mattered was emotional safety, freedom, and shared joy. Kurt offered all that, quietly and consistently, and as her story continues to inspire, one message remains clear. Real satisfaction comes from being deeply understood and fully accepted. Goldie Hawn found that with Kurt Russell, and in doing so, she showed the world that lasting love is not about possession or promises. It is about presence.